let's take a little break from the back for a minute and let's make the window real quick. So to do that, we're just going to press tab to go into edit mode, alt H to unhide everything. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to hold alt and right click to get this whole edge loop, and press F to make a face, 3 to go into side view, Z for wireframe. We can see how far in we need to inset this. So let's go ahead and just press I to inset and try to follow the innermost line here to make it have the correct amount of inset. And it looks pretty good just like that. But I'm going to take this vertex and press G twice and slide it over to the left side of this piece and do the same with this one so that we have something like that. And now we just have a filled in window like this, but of course it doesn't really totally look like that. So we have some images here, and actually, like, just beyond this black part, it's actually indented a little. Like, you can't see it in this image, but I looked at some other images that there's a little bit of indentation above this part and around it. Well, not really necessarily indentation, but separation from the black piece in the car causes it to look like there's indentation there a little bit. So we can create that sort of effect if we want. And to do that, we're just going to do Control R and add in a loop cut here and bring it up to about here or so, and just compare that to where okay, this is basically where the black part should be, the top of it. And then in between this, we're going to do Control R again, and then mouse up twice until we have 3 cuts. You'll see at the bottom it says number of cuts 3. So we should have 3 cuts here, and then just left click, right click. And now I'm going to select one of these vertices, press period to focus in on it, and then zoom in. And we're going to do alt right click on this very middle one. So there's 5 of them. You want to get the very middle edge loop all the way around, just like this. And then we're going to do alt S for shrink flatten, and just move your mouse upward like this, and it'll bring it in some, so that you should have it indented some like this. And you can adjust how much you want it indented so that it will be like that, and you get that sort of effect right here. And again, the reason we used 3 cuts here is because then you'll have 2 loops on the top, 2 loops on the bottom, and that will sort of contain any bad shading that we're going to have. So for example, you can just watch me for a second, you don't have to follow along. I'm going to do alt right click to get this, alt shift right click to get this, delete, dissolve edges. So if we didn't do that, we didn't do those 2 edges there, it starts to look a little funky here. Like, it just looks a little weird. So those edges just kind of make sure that everything looks a little bit nicer. Even though it will increase the vertex count, they're kind of necessary to make it look correct, or at least somewhat correct. So we're going to do something similar here, like where this black part is. Like, we have the end of the black part, and then it indents to where the window would be. So before we indent it, we're going to press I to inset and make a small little edge again to contain the bad shading. And then we're going to press I to inset a second time So we should have a total of 3 loops down here. And then we can just pull this one in a little slightly, and you'll see the shading gets all bad on the window like this. But we can fix that pretty easily. So to fix that, all you gotta do is add another inset. So just press I again and make another inset like this. And all of a sudden the shading looks a lot nicer again, and we have our outer black area, or what would be the outer black area there for, you know, this piece right here. And ours actually looks a little bit thicker than this does. Like, you look at this, it kind of looks a little bit too big, I think. So I'm gonna go to vertex, select, and alt right click on this very top edge, and do Q to edge slide and slide it up. And then we're going to do the same here, alt right click and Q to edge slide. And we may need to do this this inset process again. So we're actually just going to do face selection, click on this face. We're going to do Control plus again, which will increase our selection. Then we're going to do delete, choose faces, and we're going to do this real quick again. So go back to vertex select, alt right click on this, press F to make a face, I to inset, make sure you have 3 loops, and then bring this in slightly, and then press I to inset again to correct the shading. So now we have something like this. Like, this is thinner than it was before. It's more physically accurate, I think. So that looks nice. But now, one little small detail is it looks like, actually, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but in this picture it kind of looks like this back part, this back little sort of triangular section is sticking out a little further than this part of this window. Like, this part of the window looks like it's inset slightly more than this, and it could just be a little separation there, I'm not sure, but it does look like it's inset slightly. So we can give it that effect similar to how we've been doing the rest of this stuff. We just have to make sure that this vertex and this vertex are joined. So the 2 innermost vertices here should be selected. So select one, hold shift, select the other, then press J to join. That's going to give us an edge to do this inset with. Because we want this big part of the window, and we're just going to press E to extrude, right click to cancel, and drag it in slightly, and then press I to inset and do a small inset. And then go back to this one and do I to inset and do a small inset there, and you get sort of that look that they have where there's this little crease point that they have, like right here. So it makes it look nice, makes it look similar to the picture that we had. So now it's really just a matter of connecting some of these to make them quads. So like, we can select this point, hold shift, select this point, J to join. You always want to make sure you have 4 vertices if you can. And then we'll just continue on selecting 2 points, J to join. And you always want to make sure you're selecting the innermost points. So like this point, and I think I may have even selected the wrong one in this one, so I'm just going to do Control Z. Yeah, I definitely did. So I needed to select that one. This is why sometimes it's easier to do this before you do the insets, but you can do it either way, so it's not really it's not really that important. Just make sure you're joining the right points here. So now we need to make this a quad somehow, or make quads out of this somehow. I'm just gonna take a quick look at my other one. I think what I did, because like if we go to top view, well actually it's something I talked about before, and I don't have a picture up actually, but when we bring that when we bring this part down, this part of the car is going to be eventually like extruded downward. And remember I talked about how this was like part of the part that was down lower. So if we put an edge loop here, that might help. But I'm just going to check and see what I did on this one. So I added in this loop here, and then another loop right here, which will help us to create this curvature for this section, because this part's supposed to be curved a bit when it goes down and into that hole. So it will help us with curvature there. Not so much down here, but up here mostly is what that's going to be for. So we can go Control R, add a loop cut here, just left click, right click, Control R, add a loop cut here, left click, right click, and take this one and J to join, take this one and this one, J to join. So everything still looks pretty good. Now we have like these vertices we're going to need later on, and we have these vertices which we'll need in a minute here. So we're going to go ahead and file and save. So now we're going to work on making this hole that goes right here. You can get another look right here. There's also this mesh that's in there, but I'm not going to worry about that for right now. We're just going to try to get this hole to be somewhat correct. So if we press 7 to go to top view and Z for wireframe, we have this line here which kind of shows us where this hole is supposed to be. However, I think it's a little too far away from where the window is in this reference, because like there's really not much space between where the window would be and then where this part of the hole would start. So we're just going to keep that in mind. So when we do Control R, add in the loop cut here and bring this in pretty close, like probably here, and that's probably good, I think. Just look at the rest of the car and make sure it didn't mess things up too badly. Like we can probably merge these over, because right here is the shading isn't the best now that we've made that change. So I just went through, selected one, hold shift, select the other, alt M at last, and try to correct the shading a little bit. Having this crease here is fine, because on the real thing they have a crease there. I didn't really load up a good image of that crease, but there is like this line there for where the trunk would be, so it's fine to have that there. And then for the front, like having these vertices is going to be okay, because in the front, like this part's going to get extruded downward, and again I probably don't have a good picture, but yeah, you can see it here. Okay, so like you have the hood part, and then it goes down, And in this area that's underneath the hood, like right here, where you see all this black part going downward, this would be like where all the stuff for the wipers is and whatever else they put down there. So this is eventually going to be, this part's eventually going to be extruded downward and in, and this extra edge loop will help keep the shading correct again, because we're going to be extruding down and in. So having all these extra vertices here, they're actually serving a purpose, so it's not a bad idea to have them. And back here, like I said, that crease, so these are serving a purpose, and then these here are going to be serving a purpose because they're going to be helping us make this hole that's right here. So you always want to try to make sure that the vertices you're adding have some sort of purpose. So to make this little hole here, it doesn't quite go to the window, or it doesn't quite, like, it seems like it starts joining back up more here, but we can bring it all the way to the window since we don't have any vertices any closer than this. So we're just going to go to face select and grab these two faces. I'm going to press period to focus in on them so we have a better view of them, and we're just going to press E to extrude, right click to cancel, and drag these down. Since this is the point where it's going to be meeting back up, we're going to go to vertex select, and we're going to select this vertex and this one, Alt M at last, because these are going to be joining back up with this part of the car. So just do that for both of those right there. Don't worry about this shading, we'll take care of this. And then this needs to be a hole, so we're going to select this face, press delete, choose faces. So now we have our little hole here. And we can see the curve starts out fairly gradual, and then it more quickly goes downward. So you want to have more like what I'm doing, like it's a fairly gradual curve, and then this part goes down fairly sharply at the end so that you get that big hole that they have. And it also looks like this bottom part is going to be more towards the outer side of the car, so it's going to be pulled towards the wheels basically slightly. So if we go to vertex select, grab this vertex and pull it more towards the wheels. We can do the same with this too, pull it a little more towards the wheels, and possibly these get pulled in towards the center of the car, but I'm not sure, since this view and this view don't really show that, but we can move them in a little. We can just kind of assume that it's going to be similar to how this other part is created. And you'll notice there is a little bit of thickness to this part of the car, which of course we can add by going here, going to edge select, getting this edge, E to extrude, right click to cancel, bring it forward a little, and then E to extrude, right click to cancel, bring it down. So that will correct the shading that was all messed up right there and give us a bit of a nicer result there. But actually I had this part connected to the rest of the car, so we need to make that connected. So we're going to select this, go to tools, subdivide, go back to vertex select, get this vertex, G twice, slide it over to basically where this other vertex is, press period on the number pad, zoom in, select this vertex, shift select this one, Alt M at last. So now it's physically connected with the model, and then we can join it down over here. And we'll do the same here in edge select, subdivide this, vertex select G twice, select this one, shift select this one, Alt M at last, shift select this, J to join. So now it's physically connected to our model. Looks okay. So now I guess basically what we have to do is start correcting some of the shading here. So take a quick look at this. Looks like we have 2 loops down on this side, so we're going to select these, do subdivide, Alt right click to get this, Q to edge slide. Remember, if you don't have the hotkey, go to mesh edges, set up your hotkey. Then I think we can just join this one here. So select this one, shift select this one, Alt M at last, and all of a sudden we start to get some better shading here. Except when you go to this angle, it looks pretty bad. So I think we need to do the same on the other side. We're going to select these 3, subdivide, Alt right click, Q to slide this over. Vertex select, and we're going to merge these 2 just like we did before. So now the shading that was down here is gone, but we have an issue up here. So I think if we select these, do subdivide, Alt right click, Q to slide, and then merge it here. I think what the problem may be is we need to add in another loop around this part right here. So we're going to select these edges and these edges, so these 4, subdivide, Alt right click, Q to slide, get it pretty close, and then select this vertex, shift select this one, and J to join. Select this one, shift select that one, J to join. But one more thing we can add is this actually is a little bit curved towards the back of the car. Maybe easier to see here how it's kind of curved towards the back of the car. And we are going to have to add in quite a few vertices to do that, but if you want to make it more realistic, that's how you're going to have to do it. So we're going to have to do Control R, mouse wheel up, left click, right click, so we get 2 loops. It is going to add a bunch of vertices that we're not really going to need, but it will allow us to curve this better. And same here, we're going to do Control R, mouse wheel up, left click, right click. Again, a bunch of vertices that we really don't need. We can merge some of these, which is actually probably what we're going to do. But first, let's just curve this. So we just want the ones on the end, these on the end. So select one, circle select, make sure you get all 4 on the bottom. And there's 3 on each part for the top, so get the 3 over here, get the 3 over here, and drag them like this, and then you'll see we get more curvature, which is closer to how the real thing would be. So it's kind of curved back a bit, and it's curved back a bit, and it looks like the bottom's curved back a bit too. So I didn't even notice that the gas tank's right there. That's good to know for later, I guess. But that makes it look a little better. So if you want to get rid of all these extra vertices you really don't need, we can hold Alt right click, go to Z for wireframe, C for circle select, deselect those 2, delete, dissolve edges, and I think we can probably just merge it over here and call it good. And then do the same here, Alt right click, Z for wireframe, C for circle select, middle mouse deselect, press delete, dissolve edges, and then we're going to just merge it to this other side. So we're going to shift and right click, Alt M at last, and there we go. There are two triangles now, but it got rid of like a massive amount of vertices that we honestly didn't need, so it's really not a problem. There's not too many in this area, but you could do the same here if you wanted. Like you could Alt right click, deselect these, delete, dissolve edges, merge it over. Alt right click, delete, dissolve edges, merge it over. The mesh isn't going to look as nice because you get triangles now, but it's really up to you. If you want those quads back, like even the shading's maybe not the best now, so if I just undo this for a second and just compare the shading. So actually I think the shading's a little better with it, leaving it as quads. So since it's not many vertices, it's like what, 8 vertices, so it'd be 16 for both lines. So that's not really that bad. So I think this is good. We still have to add in that mesh part, but we'll save that for a little bit later. Alright, we're just going to save this before we mess up the model anymore. So we're going to go to File and Save.